Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Baker, and I am doing my reading ladder over the young adult novel Bust Me Ultima by Rudolfo Anaya. Some themes that I have chosen to incorporate from the book into my reading ladder are the theme of identity. Antonio constantly, the main character, struggles throughout the novel to find out who he is, and he's never given an answer by anyone. Anytime he asks, like, what am I meant to do, they're telling him, oh, you're set on this set destiny. You can't be anything else. You're just going to do what I'm just going to tell you to be. And it's not until he meets a woman called Ultima that gives him the opportunity to find himself. And the next theme is the theme of death. Antonio encounters death very early on, and that's what helps shapes his worldview. And there are multiple deaths throughout the book, and some are painted as being a bad thing, and some of them are painted as being a good thing. And I think that's important to distinguish to students that death is not always a thing to be sorry or sad about. And another one is Bless Me Ultima is basically a classic coming of age story where he doesn't know what he wants to do. He, through all these trials and tribulations, all the questions he asks and all the answers that he gets, he finally finds out at the end that this is what I'm meant to do with my life, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to have anyone else determine who I am. I am who I choose to be. Another thing is expectations. Antonio's parents are the ones to blame for this one. Antonio, his dad has a clear goal in mind for him. He's like, you're going to be this son, and you're not going to be anything else. You are going to be what I tell you to be. And his mom says, no, you're going to be this to make me happy, and it'll just make me happy, and nothing else matters but making me happy. And they're not even counting his happiness or his dreams into this. They just have these unreal expectations set upon them because he's the only boy left in the house after his older brothers went off to go fight in the war. And the last one is what is good and evil. This does paint a picture in the book of there is that moral gray area, and it's not always good or evil. There's always that moral gray, and I feel like distinguishing that with your high school students and bringing to light that is a good thing, because some high schoolers' points of views are it's black and white. It's going to be either good or evil. There's no in between, but there is that in between that we don't really talk about until we get to, I believe, like 12th grade and then college and above, that you really do experience that gray area. The first source that I like to use for this is a TED Talk by Joe Ehrmann, a former NFL football player who is now a motivational speaker for boys' issues. And in this TED Talk, he talks about toxic masculinity and what it is to be a man. He says being a man, from what parents and what other men tell us, is you don't cry, you don't show any emotion. You're basically a stone wall for people to rely on. And if you can't accomplish that, then you're nothing. You're essentially just not a man. You've lost your man card and everything. And he deconstructs why that is a terrible thing to teach our youth. And this doesn't have to strictly pertain to boys either. This can lead into what other gender stereotypes does society still push today. So this doesn't pertain to boys, it can pertain to girls. And this ties back into the book because Antonio is constantly told, hey, you have to be the man now. And he's never really given an answer of what that is. And I feel like this is a good starting point because it's a video. It'll capture your students' attention. The man Joe Ehrmann, from the moment he talks, he just grabs your attention. You don't want to take your eyes off the screen once he talks because he's a very powerful speaker. The second one is a song called Fiction by Avenged Sevenfold. And this ties in with the Be a Man because this song deals with death because this is a song about their drummer who died and they made the song for him. And it says, being a man is not showing emotion, but what are you supposed to do when your friend dies? You're supposed to be a stone wall, just machine and not show anything? No, you're supposed to grieve and mourn, but this song says, hey, it'll all get better in the end. There will be a period of you hurting, but if you have the right support system and everybody there and you get to show your emotion, then yeah, it's fine. you're essentially still a man and you're essentially still a human being. And I would give out printed lyrics and then have this video here with the lyrics on it and the actual song playing so they can read along with it. My other is a young adult novel with The Outsiders by S.C. Hinton, and you can draw many parallels between this book and Bless Me Ultima, Ponyboy, and Antonio. This is a coming-of-age story for the both of them. And the reason why S.C. Hinton wrote this was so she always read books where the characters were like a high class. She wanted to write a book where the lower class were humanized and not viewed as just like leeches or worms off society. And you can relate this to your students with like a lower class income. It's really good for them. It's also a familiar text that a lot of people read in middle school, so this won't be foreign to them, so that's a good way. And my next one is an article, and this is The Good and Evil by Dr. Steve Tyler. Dr. Steve Tyler's, there's not much known about him, but most of his work has been published in many credible sources. This is discussing that there is that middle ground, and I feel like this is a good place to put this article because we had the Avenged Sevenfold with death and then the Ponyboy situation, and this does highlight that, yeah, there are good and bad evils in this world, but there's also that gray area that you have to, and point of good and evil are like a point of view from different people's perspective. And I feel like that's a good way to help your students understand Bless Me Ultima when they decide to read it. Another is expectations. Now I'm going to read a little excerpt. Just what exactly do you expect from me? To complete the failures of your destiny, you mapped out my life before I could walk, taught me to scream before I could talk. My shoulders, they carry the burden of hope. I want to fly free, not shackled by rope. And this does highlight Antonio's situation in the book. And I feel this is a really good poem. I'm not really into poems all that much, but this poem in particular can hit home with some students who really do have like unreal expectations set upon them. And Antonio, like I said, his mom wants him to be a priest, and his dad wants him to go out to California with him and live his dream through him. And here's some artwork. These next three sources really connect: the poem, the artwork, and the next source. You can interpret this in many different ways. The way I chose to interpret it and how I would present it to my class is the person in the middle is essentially the child of the man and the woman on the top, and it's stuck in between those two worlds, and they can't really get out because she's too connected to the both of them there. And you don't have to interpret it this way. This artwork can be interpreted in many different ways and within many different forms. This is just essentially what I see the poem in artwork form. And students can relate to artwork more and interpret it better than they can poems, because some poems are hard to understand, but the poem up there was fairly simple. And the song Follow Your Arrow, like I said, these next three sources are really connected. Follow Your Arrow is just a song about be who you want to be and don't let others tell you who you're going to be, and don't let their opinions shape who you are. It's essentially just saying, leave all that behind you and just be yourself. Just do what you want to do. And it's a song. Kids love songs. And this is very catchy. The only reason I would be a little hesitant is because it does have some language in it, but it's not that bad. And then finally, I would finish it off with the canonical text. The reason why I chose the canonical text as the last one is because I feel like you need all of the other sources beforehand and get a firm understanding of that before you read that, because you would get the best results with your students if you decided to do all the sources and then read the canonical text, and you would get the full experience. Because when I read it, I enjoyed the book, but whenever I went back and looked at my sources, everything became so much more clear to me. I was saying to myself, man, I really wish I would have read all of that beforehand, because I could draw so many parallels between the two, and I could do so much more with that. And that is my reading ladder on Bless Me Ultima. I hope you all enjoyed and got something from this.